Since 2003, this is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
The Sports Source is presented by Junk Be Gone, Pipe Wrench, and the Garza Law Firm.
The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source here in the Junk Be Gone studios. Happy to have you with us. Hope you had a good Christmas. We're going to get you ready for next Tuesday. I started to say New Year's, but it's before New Year's. We're going to get you ready for Tuesday, Tennessee's game against Illinois. Hurrah! Actually, we are going to have a fun show. It may be more fun than the bowl itself. Music City Bowl preview today, but we're also, and this is key, we're going to give you our predictions for the game, Cavalaris line included. But we are going to talk about Tennessee's quarterback search. Who are the guys in the portal? And I'm going to show you a number that I think everybody should be filtering those quarterbacks through. Everybody should be looking at it with an eye toward this one number. It has a lot to do with what Heupel, his offense, what makes it go. So we'll break that down. We'll show you the two or three guys, and it might not be the names that everybody's talking about. So quarterbacks a little later in the show. Let's dive into it. First segment of our program brought to you by our friends at Garza Law. When you need one, is there anything more important than a good attorney? To calm your stress, to answer your questions, to bolster your confidence, to prepare you, and to help you in your time of trouble. Folks, you can't beat Marcos Garza and the Garza Law Firm, an East Tennessee team right here for East Tennesseans. GarzaLaw.com is where you can go to learn more about Marcos Garza and his team at the Garza Law Firm. All right. I want to welcome in the first wave of panelists today. We still have somebody sitting in the wings who'll be with us a little bit later, but right now, Tyler Ivins from 99.1 The Sports Animal. We have Mike Stoll, VFL, former Vol captain. Appreciate you being here. Another VFL right here, Marlon Walls. Thank you for being here. Bob Hodge right there, longtime member of this panel. Since the beginning.
Glad to be here.
Way back in 2003, in the beginning. All right. In the current environment, any bowl talk has to begin with a list of who's opting out, who's playing, who's heading to the NFL, etc. The Vols are going to be without, let me just start the list here. On offense, they're going to be without wide receiver Chris Brazzell, who was your number one go-to guy for most of the season, leaving for the NFL. They're going to be without third-string running back Peyton Lewis, who is hitting the transfer portal. His carries, and Deshaun Bishop really took over down the stretch, but you look at Peyton Lewis's numbers dropped off as the season went along, so he's not going to be there. So you're going to have someone else taking his place. On defense, this is where it's really going to hit. They're going to be without their top corner, Colton Hood, who's going to the NFL. They're going to be without their top tackler, linebacker Arian Carter, who's heading to the NFL. They're going to be without their leading pass rusher, Josh Josephs, heading to the NFL. That's tough, considering your defense wasn't spectacular to begin with. Meanwhile, Illinois is going to be without offensive tackle J.C. Davis, without safety Matthew Bailey, who's out due to injury, and most importantly, without the Big Ten sack leader Gabe Acas. The J is silent. It's Jacas, but you don't need to know. He's not going to be there anyway. Gabe is out. So that helps the Volunteers. But, Tyler, I'll start with you. When you compare the lists of who's going to be there and who's not going to be there, it's hard to cut it to where it's not a bigger hit on Tennessee than it is on Illinois.
I think you kind of just explained it right there, and it's not just because of the bodies or the occupancy. They have X amount, they have X amount. It's the talent that you're losing on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, how many Sundays did you guys sit here post-game after a game following Saturday going, well, if number 7, if Arian Carter doesn't have a big hit, or if Colton Hood doesn't bail you out in the red zone, or if Joshua Joseph doesn't have it just seems like there were 3 names. If we went through and we actually had AI identify the names that got brought up the most when discussing the defense, I guarantee you those 3 opt-outs would get brought up the most. Sure, pass protection for Luke Altmyer took a little bit of a ding when you're going to lose a first-rounder like you just mentioned with J.C. Davis, and not having Akis chasing you down, Joey Aguilar probably can take a bead of sweat off his forehead. But when you just look at talent, what's staying, and talent, what's leaving, last year Illinois was pretty much just a piece here, a piece there, gone, and they beat up on South Carolina. And I think it's a similar situation this year, just a piece here, a piece there, gone. Tennessee takes the bigger hit when it comes to ops-outs.
Yeah, I agree completely. And you think about what this ball game now looks like. Is this going to be a track meet, right? You think about Tennessee's defense wasn't great to begin with. They're giving up a lot of points. Now you lose more key pieces. You've got an Illinois quarterback. You've got an offense that they've had some good wins on the Illinois side. You start pushing what they're trying to do. Now the pressure folds to what the offense needs to do, and you don't have your leading receiver out there. So It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a track meet, I think.
Agreed, gentlemen?
I think track meet is a good way to put it. I look at this at how Tennessee's offense is hurt because Brazzell bailed you out 2 or 3 games.
Especially in the first half of the season.
Especially in the first half of the season, making not only just the catch, but making really, really good catches. And then Peyton Lewis, yes, his season, the carries dwindled, but still, he was a guy that you went to down near the goal line multiple times. I mean, he had the power, he had the build to be that guy. Okay, we're going to just run it behind the center. And so those hits don't seem to be as big as the defense, but they could end up being pretty big because you had 3 receivers who played an inordinate amount of football for Tennessee this year, and now one of them is gone. So maybe one of the young guys that everybody kept hoping to see steps up. But yeah, I think the defense hit a little bit more, but the offense losing Brazzell, I think that's pretty big.
Yeah, I say put your money on the over. On the over.
Chuck?
Yes. There you
Taking
go.
notes of that?
Get the over. When you're losing a guy like Arion Carter, who is your quarterback of the defense, you're losing Colton Hood, a guy who's been your best defender throughout the whole season. Yes, Ty Redmond came on a little bit later, but Colton Hood was the guy that you put on the number 1 guy and said, hey, we're trusting you to go stop him. And then Joshua Joseph, he's had an up and down year. Sometimes he's brought pressure. Sometimes you didn't hear from him. I think that's going to hurt him a little bit in this game because they are missing an offensive tackle. So now you had a chance to have an edge coming off the edge to help you out as far as that pressure goes. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a track meet. I think you can't lose a guy like Arion Carter, who was the quarterback. Your DC's gone. Yeah. Now you're trying to implement some different things. I think you put your money on the over, and I think it's going to be a track meet. Make it an exciting football game.
When you talk about some of those guys who are out, let's start with the receivers. Rodarius Jackson is a guy that you're probably going to be looking toward first, more so than Travis Smith. Rodarius Jackson, Smith has been hurt all year. Jackson had injuries too, but Jackson played a little bit more than Smith. Yeah. He's the guy that's probably going to be counted on to replace Brazzell, so that's a name to watch. In terms of running back, that's going to be an interesting decision. Star Thomas, his carries dropped down. He had 20 carries over the last 4 games. 20 over the last 4 games. 1 against Vanderbilt. Now, I thought Star Thomas looked pretty good. We said all year, there's something they don't like at practice. He doesn't practice hard. He doesn't pick up the blitz. Whatever it is, he got phased out. So do you go back to him? He's gone.
Right.
Or do you make Dwan Morris, who'll be back next year? Is that the guy who's going to pick up the slack? Or is it just we're going to feed Deshaun Bishop until he can't stand up?
Yeah.
That's the running. Okay, that's your take?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I take.
Jump in here? Go right ahead.
No. I think that this is going to be there are a lot of people who have looked at, we make comments about what the allocation of NIL funds are going to look like going into the 2026 season. Well, you're going to need Braylon Staley, who's going to get a little bit of an uptick, and certain players defensively who are going to deserve an uptick. I'm telling you right now, if there's a lot of people out there who's up for a Green Arrow point payday, Deshaun Bishop's going to earn it again coming up on Tuesday in Nashville. It's going to happen.
All right. The other one, the main one to watch, you've got on your defensive line to replace Joseph, to replace Carter, you've got guys who've played, okay? You got a guy who's got 50 snaps on the year who's probably going to play a lot in replacing Colton Hood, which means now Ty Redmond's your veteran.
Yeah.
We spent the first 2 months talking about, oh, gosh, this poor guy's getting destroyed. He's getting picked on. This is what happens when you throw a rookie into the fire in the SEC. Then he winds up making a couple of all-freshman lists. He really comes on strong. I think he winds up with 3 interceptions on the year, which is second most in the conference. But he's going to be your veteran, and it's probably going to be Trey Poteet, who came in last year as a 4-star, played 50 snaps all year. He's green as grass. Or you could go with William Wright, but that's a guy who's a 6th year. He's probably not going to be back next year.
There's a lot of crapshoot options.
So it's probably going to be Redmond and Poteet, which makes, again, for track meet.
Yes.
Yeah. I think, though, with Redmond, when you're playing the game and you go through the season, freshmen aren't freshmen anymore. They make that statement all the time. Rookies aren't rookies anymore.
Okay.
But the thing is, he's got a lot of reps under his belt now. The other thing, too, is he's had about a month to digest. And I tell you, when you get named to some sort of team, like all freshmen, whatever, he suddenly starts believing in himself a lot more. I think you will see him play pretty doggone good because now all of a sudden he's got a little bit of swagger to himself. It's like, hey, I've weathered the beat downs. I've played a lot better towards the end. I've got the kind of name behind me all of a sudden. I think they're not going to pick on him as much as the unknown entity on the other side.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a decent game. Doesn't mean he's going to knock everything down, but I think you'll see him now start taking more of a leadership role, even though he is a freshman.
Well, you're right. He's no longer completely green as grass, but at the same time, I've always said, when people say, well, he's no longer a freshman anymore. Well, he's played 10 games. Whoever was a sophomore has now played 10 games. So is a sophomore still, what's a senior? Is a senior still a senior?
Yeah.
So that's my only pushback.
Yeah,
but
no.
in terms of him being more of a veteran than he was, that's absolutely legit.
Agreed. Typically, though, when you're that talented as a freshman, that's where it starts to kind of say, okay, he's pretty good. And we started to see that. So I think that's a good thing to see him develop.
Poteet's the one you got to worry about.
Yeah, or whoever's on that other side.
Yeah, if it's right.
On that other side, yes.
I would think that it would be Poteet Morris that you're going to see rather than Wright and Thomas, just based on what we've seen so far. But who knows? Quickly.
One tiny thing to put a little bit of a positive spin on it, when I was reading about Illinois, the tackle, their offensive tackle.
Correct.
They're by far their best offensive lineman. So maybe
Davis.
Tennessee can take a little bit of an advantage of whoever's coming in there to replace
You
him.
wonder if that'll cancel out the Josh
Maybe
Josephs
it
and
does.
J.C.
There you go.
Davis.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
And maybe it doesn't.
Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? We'll see. All right. When we come back, you've already said track lead, so you can't come back. All right. When we come back, Tennessee went after Illinois quarterback. Tennessee went after Illinois' quarterback before landing on Joey Aguilar. So who's going to have the advantage on Tuesday? Illinois with the quarterback Tennessee wanted, or Tennessee with the quarterback Tennessee got? That's next. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. Winter's here. That means building projects need winter materials. A.G. Hines Company has been helping East Tennesseans build their dream project since 1920. Trust me, they know what winter materials you need for your project. A.G. Hines Company. Visit them on Hines Street, downtown Knoxville. All right. We've got a poll question for you today. Let's go ahead and put that thing up. What is your top interest right now? And it's already changed since we went on the air. Music City Bowl, the quarterback search. Heupel staff, no one cares.
No.
We've got holes there. Exactly. And then the portal watch, all those other positions, not just the quarterback. So you tell us which one you care most about. Look at that Hearthside Bank logo, and then you get that nice squiggly line under the circles there, or under the circle, inside the circle, whatever I'm trying to say. Get your phone out, take a picture of the little squiggly lines in the circle, and that'll take you to our poll, and you can vote, and we appreciate you playing along with us right there. I always like following along because I'm always surprised, but I'm not surprised the Music City Bowl lags behind the quarterback search, and that's why later in this show, we'll be talking about the quarterback search.
Yeah, Music City Bowl's dropping even more as soon as you say that.
It's 10 to 36. All right. Much like the temperature is going to be dropping over there.
Yes.
Okay. Let's start our breakdown with the quarterback situation. Since you don't care, let's start breaking down this game. We'll talk about the quarterback situation. It's interesting. Tennessee went after Luke Altmyer. It's been reported as such. Brett Bielema has kind of danced around it, but this is a guy who's kind of an ornery fellow anyway. Mm-hmm. You remember last year with Shane Beamer? I just wonder if there's any kind of bad blood here. In terms of motivation, we'll throw this in before we get to the quarterbacks. I do think Illinois is probably on the side of the Big Ten teams that's always tired of hearing the SEC beats them. I think Bielema probably has more to prove than Heupel since you tried to take my quarterback. Mm-hmm. I think Altmyer, you could look at that and say, these guys came after me. I appreciate it. Athletes, you crazy people, you always twist stuff.
Yeah.
He'll use that somehow, and I'll show you coming after me. So I think they might have the motivational factor. But Tennessee went after Altmyer, didn't get him. They wound up with Joey Aguilar, which worked out well for the Vols. Let's take a look by the numbers at what you got. And you got kind of similar. They're not all that different. Aguilar threw for a lot more yardage. Completion percentage, 68.8 versus 68.1. Touchdowns, 24 to 21. Altmyer takes care of the ball better. Only 5 interceptions all season long. Doesn't throw it as much, but only 5 interceptions all season long. Rushing yards, they're pretty much, that cancels each other out right down to the touchdowns, 4 each. We'll leave that up for a second as people watch it. Who's got the edge in this one, Bob? Who's got the edge going into this?
You look at it, and it's hard to define what is the edge. But the number that I come down to is the interceptions. And Aguilar threw 4 in the last 3 games of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Can't exactly remember.
Pair against New Mexico State.
But it
seems
like when Aguilar starts getting some pressure, he gets a little squirrely with the ball, and it's not just interceptions. he throws some bad incompletions too, sort of the, okay, who are you throwing that ball to kind of thing. So assuming that the things play out between the two and the interceptions lean a little bit more towards Illinois, I'm going to give Illinois a tiny little bit of an edge that is coupled with you don't have Chris Brazel.
Yep.
So those two things together give Illinois a slight edge.
And that was the same thing I was going to say. I think the biggest piece in here is, because I think it kind of counts itself out, you've got J.C. Davis that's not going to be in the game. That's his best offensive lineman. But you're missing Chris Brazel, who was your safety net. Braylon Staley came on as the season went on. But I would say with the weather, you had the weather in there, and then now you throw in the interception deal, and then now you throw in you're missing Chris Brazel, your best weapon. I say the same thing. I give Illinois a slight edge because this temperature-wise is going to be a little bit closer to what they're used to anyways. I think it's a knit and tuck game when you're missing J.C. Davis. I think I give a slight edge to Illinois.
One more guy that I didn't put on the Tennessee out list that I should have. He's out injured. He got hurt late in the season, but Wendell Moy. Now, Sham Umarov played a lot this year, so you're just going to plug Umarov in there for Moy. But that's one more name to consider that's not going to be there in front of Aguilar. He's played a lot with Sham Umarov, and at times, Moy was the guy that the other team targeted a lot in terms of their pass rush. So how big of a hurt that is, I should have mentioned that earlier. I did not. All right, in terms of the quarterback.
So you talk about how an athlete prepares for. If I'm Altmyer, I'm like, okay, guess what? They came after me. I didn't want them. I'm going to show them what I can do. If I'm Aguilar, I'm like, you know what? They kept passing me over. I kind of landed here. I'm going to show them that I'm better than Altmyer. So that's the mentality I would look at it. But it is a tight race. I do think it does favor Illinois because of your offense, because of the things you go on. I think you've got Altmyer, who's been in the system a lot longer, and he knows. He's from Starkville. He knows about the SEC. He would love nothing to stick his finger
That's
in the
another
eye,
one, yeah.
his finger in the eye of the SEC.
The savior clock, sweep it for all the reasons because of Chris Brazel. That's where I was going to go with this as well. I think that you made a comment at the start of the segment where you don't know if Brett Bielema's going to use this as a, hey, did they come after our guy? Bielema's not going to say it post-game on the microphone of, well, SEC, Big Ten. Go back if you can, go through the YouTubes and go look at the post-game from the Illinois-South Carolina game last year. The players had no problem bringing up the whole Big Ten. We're tired of hearing about the SEC. So he may not say it, but behind closed doors, he's preaching it to his players. That's 100% happening.
Yeah, and the tampering thing, that's a good reminder, though, for folks. Tennessee tampers, everybody tampers.
Right.
So don't cry next year when somebody calls a Tennessee guy. I don't want to hear, they're tampering. Yeah, everybody does it, including Tennessee when Nico left. You tampered with this guy. So tampering happens. All right, when we come back, who has the edge? Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, tell me how many yards Deshaun Bishop ends up with, and I'll tell you who has the quarterback edge.
Okay. When we come back, who has the edge when the Vols have the ball? We'll show those numbers next. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Elkmont Station. Looking for a great spot to eat as we wind down 2025. A local restaurant, not the same tired old national chain. Well, Elkmont Station, that's the place. Ever-evolving menu. Best craft cocktails in Knoxville. Visit Elkmont Station one night this week off Campbell Station Road in Kingston Pike, and I guarantee you you're going to be visiting them over and over in 2026. ElkmontStationKnox.com to learn more crafty food and drink. Speaking of crafty, we have right here the man who crafts the Cavalaris line each week. You'll be doing it for the bowl game a little bit later. Chuck Cavalaris, thank you for joining us.
I'm the crafty right-hander.
That's it, crafty righty. We are talking about now the offense versus the defense for each team. Let's take a look at when Tennessee has the ball and try and figure out who has the edge. You see Tennessee scoring 40.8 points per game. That was tops in the SEC, I believe, number one or number two. And then Illinois is giving up 23.3 points per game. Rushing, Tennessee averaging 174 yards. Illinois gives up 124. Passing yards, Tennessee over 307 a game is what they average. Illinois gives up 226. Total offense, you see it 482 to 350. And third down conversions, Tennessee over 50%. Illinois not great, 44.7% on third down defense. Chuck Cavalaris, you haven't joined us so far. I'll let you start. I was going to start with Mike, but I'll start with Chuck instead.
Okay.
Who has the edge, Tennessee when they have the ball or Illinois when Tennessee has the ball?
I tell you what, if the Tennessee offense doesn't have the edge, it's going to be a long day, isn't it? I mean, that's what you're going to be relying on. And if the Tennessee offense, I mean, that 40 points is kind of surprising to me because I don't feel like it's a 40-point-a-game offense, especially to me later in the season.
Bob Hodge is cheering. He agrees with that.
One of the questions I have, John, too, is what is Tennessee going to do tempo-wise? Are they going to play fast with a depleted roster, especially on defense? Or are they going to condense the roster and just try and play ball control against his own defense?
It was the third fastest offense in college football this year, and everybody talks about it wasn't fast enough. So my guess is they're going to play fast.
So we'll see how that goes. And then the other thing, and the graphic was perfect. Third down, it'll be third and fourth down. Tennessee, can they convert it, keep the ball, keep it moving? And the Illinois defense isn't exactly stout.
No. We've got a stat coming up later that I'll show you that gets into scoring by quarter, and maybe that ties back into this tempo thing. We'll bring that back around a little bit later. Who's got the edge, Mike Stoll, when Tennessee has the ball?
Yeah, I think you look at Chuck hit to it, not so much tempo, but formation, right? So Tennessee has different formations. Now, they've become a little more traditional with their up backs or bringing a tight end in. Spreading the field, how does Illinois react to that? How does Illinois react to spread the field? If you're completing the ball early, depending on the cold weather, that can be to Tennessee's advantage. Also, you look at what Illinois does offensively, it's the yards per completion. So they're passing for a lot less yards, but it's completion. It's short passes, it's short dumps, it's short quick games. And so that'll be the situation of Tennessee's yards or big shots. Are they going to be able to complete the big shots without your big guy there? And so it can favor Tennessee if they go out, they start running wide open, they spread the field. Can Illinois react to that? And if they can't, then I think it favors Tennessee if they can hit the long ball. But again, this is one of those matchups you just don't know what you're going to get. It could be in Tennessee's favor, but it also could be in Illinois' favor.
Great answer.
So I'm going to Cavalaris the line there. Oh, there you go.
I believe that was the classic Cavalaris.
There you go.
Question right there.
The question.
I do.
Give me that check back. Tyler and Marlon.
I would say edge Tennessee when they got the ball. This offense isn't easy to prepare for. I think when you got Joey Aguilar coming back, he's going to play in the bowl game. You've got Lance Hurd who's been practicing. He's going to play in the bowl game, presumably. I think even with leaving Brazzell, it gives more space to guys like Braylon Staley, Radarius Jackson to see what they can do. But this isn't an easy offense to prepare for. I think it's going to have Illinois going sideways, side to side. If you can get your deep shot, you know Deshaun Bishop's going to get his. I think when they have the ball, advantage Tennessee. And again, I think defensively, Illinois, they're kind of in the middle of the pack when you're looking at what they're ranked. So I would say advantage Tennessee on offense.
I agree with that. Tyler, what do you think?
Advantage Tennessee. This was a top 12, top 14 team in the AP poll to start the season when doing research on Illinois. The reason why they didn't reach the expectations, having Altmyer back, having a lot of their offensive players return, the defense wasn't as strong as we were used to seeing a Brett Bielema defense. My understanding, though, and it's going to kind of go back to what we've already touched about this game being a track meet, Illinois is improved on third down defense this year, keeping them on the field and making sure these drives are longer. Stamina issues, that could be a key for Tennessee. But here's an issue for the Volunteers that we've talked about on this program and when you join us on the radio show. Illinois loves subbing out threes for sixes, or I should flip that, sixes for threes. They're very good at making sure that you don't get into the end zone when you cross that 20-yard line. If Tennessee isn't back to stay in this game, it needs to go back to earlier segments. It must be a track meet. If we start seeing Tennessee going, all right, let's steal three here, we'll come back around, you got to get sixes. And it's an exhibition game, so why not on fourth down in the red zone, make sure you punch it in?
Well, that's the thing. Who comes in with the attitude of there's nothing to lose here?
Thank you.
Now, the problem is, it is a scrimmage. That's all. It's an exhibition. Fans hear that. I hear them say that. But if you lose, that's out the window. Nobody looks at it. So it's an exhibition. It's a scrimmage. You got guys who are out. Don't lose. So the whole just roll the dice. Who cares? I agree. But the problem is if you roll the dice and lose, people out there watching us, who's going to care?
Without question.
All right. When we come back, who has the edge when Illinois has the ball? Let me give you a real question there. Is there any way in the world that Tennessee's interim defensive coordinator, William Inge, and we'll talk about what he's doing, is there any way in the world he can make this to where it's even an even matchup when Illinois is out there against Tennessee's defense? Let's discuss. Come on back. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. For a decade now, I've trusted these folks to protect my home, whether it's ants, spiders, fall invaders, mosquitoes in my yard, other creepy crawlies. Southeast Termite and Pest Control have gotten rid of all of them. I trust them. You should too. SoutheastTermite.com is where you can learn more about the best pest control company in all of East Tennessee, and they'll come to where you are, wherever it is, I promise you. Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Okay, let's go back to the edge factor, and I think we know, look, Illinois' got the edge. Is there any way Tennessee can even this thing out? You see in terms of points, Illinois averaged 29.3 points per game. Tennessee allowed giving up 28.8. Rushing yards, Tennessee gave up more than Illinois averaged on offense. Passing yards, Tennessee gave up more than Illinois averaged on offense. Total defense, obviously, Tennessee gave up nearly 400. They averaged 350. And third down conversions, hey, you were better than them. They're at 41.7, and you were only 40%. You've also got, as Marlon has alluded to and we've talked to a couple of times, William Inge has taken over as your interim defensive coordinator. Josh Heupel said this past week that he has, quote, subtly tweaked some things from his past to use this week. Safety Andre Turntine said he's implemented some stuff he would like to see from us on the back end. Then he continued, as well as with the linebackers and defensive line. All right.
So new defense.
Yeah, exactly. New defense, 1 month to put it together without Josephs, Carter, and Hood. Other than that, what are you expecting?
Edge, Illinois. Here's the deal. Here's what people don't understand about the bowl game. When you have a situation like Tennessee has where you got a new defense coordinator coming in and you don't know who's going to be retained from that staff, you start to see a different side of the coaches.
Okay, hold on. No, we're going to do
okay,
this
gotcha.
segment.
Okay, never mind.
Edge,
Hold it, though.
Edge, Illinois.
just leave it there. Is there any, I mean, it's not going to be easy to try to implement
it's
much
not.
new stuff.
No, you're missing
They're going to
your-
simplify it, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're missing your quarterback on the defense. You're missing Joshua Joseph. These are pieces that are probably the teachers on your defense, meaning they help the young guys out after practice.
Yeah.
Now you're missing those guys. Those guys are not playing. It's going to be a lot of figuring out during this game.
Chuck, you agree? Is there
Yeah,
anything they
yeah,
can do? You
yeah.
expect any kind of improvements on defense
Well,
without Tim Banks?
Well, who is going to show up and kind of be the surprise, or who's going to emerge? Remember, a couple of years ago in the bowl game is Ricky Gibson. He's playing right corner. He came out there and had a really good game, right?
Yep.
So you've got one of the youngest rosters in the country, 49% freshmen. Somebody's going to have to emerge, but it's still, you look at this, it has to favor Illinois.
And before we get you two to chime in here, I want to remind people to keep playing the poll because it has shifted again. You still don't care about Heupel's
It's a horse race.
But now it's the overall portal watch has
watch.
taken over
Wow.
from quarterback search,
Yeah.
and the Music City Bowl interest continues to drop as we discuss the game. We are driving people away from this game. Do you expect any kind of improvement in simplifying this now that you've pushed Tim Banks
Here's the
overboard?
problem. Let's say the scheme has been tweaked. You still didn't tackle well.
Yeah.
You didn't set edges well. You still look like you were taking bad angles.
But
That
aside
isn't
from that.
scheme thing. So yes, I give Illinois the advantage.
Yeah, 100%. And the defense at Ohio State was hard to grasp. The defense at Penn State was complex and hard to grasp. You don't walk in with
well,
3
they're
weeks.
not into his yet.
Well,
so they're not doing that yet.
but even
Yeah.
trying to throw some things in there, you wonder what kind of communicator he is. And it's not like last year Tim Banks was a horrible coach, right?
Yeah.
He had
He's
a
just
pretty
in
dumb-
observation mode at this point. though. It's the end
Absolutely.
of the story.
So even if you do some tweaks or try to do some things, I don't think that they're going to, like Bob said, they've not tackled well. They've not set the edge well. They've been undisciplined in assignments. You don't fix that over the bowl practice prep time. It's a huge advantage to Illinois.
Okay, very good. When we come back, intangibles like weather, hidden factors that could decide this game. We'll get to all of that. We've still got to talk about what Marlon brought up there. You got some lame duck coaches or coaches who may be lame ducks. What impact does that have on the team? And then we're going to dig into 15 portal quarterbacks that Tennessee can make a run on. And I'm going to show you the stat that you need to be paying attention to with those guys. Come on back on the Sports Source. And welcome back. This segment of the Sports Source brought to you by Madisonville Marine. The folks at Highway 411 North down there in Madisonville always give their employees a nice big break during the holidays to enjoy with their family. They'll be opening back up next week, and 2026 will be their 50th year serving East Tennessee. 50 years, folks. Madisonville Marine. There's no better place to buy a boat. I think that's underscored by the fact they've been around for 50 years, folks. madmarine.com to learn more about those good people. All right, let's take a look at the poll results. What did you wind up with? What's your top interest right now? Portal Watch, number 1, leads the way. Number 2, the quarterback search, and that's kind of, both of those are kind of similar. Then you've got the Music City Bowl, 14% of you. 4% of you care about Heupel's staff, and that was Harbin, Martinez called. Those are the guys that are, oh gosh, I don't know. Okay, I want to quickly run through some areas that might decide this game, and interestingly, a couple of them are very even. I was like, ooh, we'll go to the kicking game. I know how much Mike Stoll loves it. Well, let's take a look at the kicking game. The kickers, pretty even. Olano of Illinois is 17 of 20. Max Gilbert, 14 of 18. Gilbert's hit a long one of 53. Olano has a long of 47, but not a huge difference there between the two kickers. In terms of punters, not much difference there either.
Right.
That should be 44.0, but it's 44% and 44.3%. Almost the exact same number of punts, almost the exact same longest punt of the year, so all that's very similar. Let's check out scoring by quarter. Look at this, first quarter points. Tennessee number 1 in the country, again, 12.9. That had disappeared under Milton and Nico. This year it was back. 12.9 points for every first quarter played. That's best in the country. Illinois, one of the worst in the country. Only 3.7 points. So if Tennessee doesn't jump on this and have a big lead coming out of the gate, be concerned. Fourth quarter points on offense. Tennessee 5.9, Illinois 5 It's about equal. Both of them not great in the fourth quarter scoring. Defensively, first quarter points allowed. Tennessee pretty darn good. 48th in the nation, 4.7 was all they gave up in the first quarter. Illinois gave up about 6. But look at the fourth quarter points, and I wonder if this gets back to that tempo thing. You were the third, for as much as people wanted them to go faster, they were the third fastest offense in football this year, and look how that first quarter defense turned into a sieve. That is one of the worst in the country, 123 in the fourth quarter. Hard for me not to draw a connection there between that and the tempo and indeed hanging those guys out to dry. Marlon, would you agree with that? Do you think that it's hard not to at least draw some tie to that?
Yeah, most definitely. As the game goes on, obviously your defense is going to start to wear down, especially if you're going tempo. That means you're out there on the field a lot more from a defensive standpoint. But I will say this, and I've been saying this all year long, with this defense, the lack of star power that we have, guys that can get guys on the ground, I think from an offense standpoint, you drag this defense across the goal line. You just finish it out and say, hey, man, look, we'll buy you some pizza or something on Friday, but we're going to run this thing like crazy. We're going to run tempo, and we're going to drag you across the finish line.
There you go. All right, and then let me show you one more that can make a difference. Penalties. This is one where Illinois has the advantage. Tennessee, you see they're at 19th in the nation in terms of penalty yards a game. They're under 40 yards a game. Tennessee, 80th in the nation, 50.5 points. Usually they're at about 60 to 65 yards. So this was actually Josh Heupel's best year in terms of penalty yards per game. Penalties per game, again, you're right there about 80 out of 130 schools. Illinois only 17th. So do you get more flags, and does that cost you? And the last intangible I'll throw out here was something we talked about earlier. It's going to be cold.
Yeah.
We talked last year when Tennessee was going up to Columbus about, all right, you're not used to playing in this. And that was about a 25-degree kickoff. Wind chill was much colder than that. But it was about the third coldest game in Tennessee history dating back to 1950 when they started tracking that stuff. This thing could be around 30 at kickoff time on Tuesday. I don't know what the wind chill is supposed to be, but this is going to be chilly for Tennessee. It's going to be kind of normal for Illinois. How much of a factor could that play, Mike Stoll?
I think it'll be a huge factor, specifically in the fact of they've been practicing and it's been 70 degrees, right? So you're out there and you're warm, you're sweating, everything like that. And I just think back when I was in the Canadian League and I was in the South and we'd go up to Canada and it'd be 40 degrees, but where we left it was 90. That's a huge swing. You freeze. It's cold. Your body's in shock. I think that's going to bother Tennessee a lot because it's been so warm the last couple weeks. Now all of a sudden it turns cold. It's turning cold tomorrow, according to the weatherman. And yeah, so there you go.
And for folks who don't keep up on their CFL history, When Mike says I was in the South, that does not mean Toronto and he was going to Edmonton. He played in the CFL in years when they actually had some American teams. So you were in Shreveport,
Louisiana.
and then we did have to go all the way up to Saskatoon, to Regina to play in Saskatchewan.
Edmonton went 82-degree swing one time.
Yeah. Well, you got to look at that and say it's Big Ten weather, don't you?
Yes.
I mean, that's what, and I think you do look at that because Tennessee hasn't exactly embraced the weather in some of the games they played.
What if they take their jerseys off and come out there shirtless like they did in Columbus last year?
It doesn't work.
And motivation, I mean, we were going to talk about that.
Yes, bring that up. Go for it.
I think Illinois got a little bit added there. They're trying to become the first back-to-back bowl-winning team that they've ever had. And you may think that's a little thing, but to some players and in a program, no, I mean, and the coach, Illinois' coach can act like the kid that acts up when there's not the regular teacher. You get that somebody
Substitute,
else. Yeah, he can get under the skin. You talked about it. He did it last year. We'll see how that kind of plays out too.
Yeah, Beamer was about to lose it last year, and Bielema looked like he was just messing with it.
And it was about substitutions. It was about
signals.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll just see how. There's a lot of stuff stirring around in this pond.
Yeah, does the weather concern you?
Yeah, 2 points, right? So as a defensive guy, a former defensive guy, it is hard to tackle when it's cold, especially when you've been practicing in 70-degree weather. And that's the reason, again, I say track meet. You've got a team on the other side that's used to playing in this kind of weather, like you said, that's Big Ten weather. Now you switch it over to Tennessee. And the last image we got of a cold weather game, you're looking at that Ohio State game, and we couldn't tackle anybody. So it's definitely harder to tackle when you're playing defense. The other thing I would say as well is this. When you have a new defensive coordinator that's coming into the season next year, everybody's trying to audition. Right, you got other players that's wondering, hey, if this guy's going to keep me around. You got coaches that are worried about, am I going to be sticking around? From my standpoint, and I've went through coaching changes before. Usually, those guys start to reflect towards the end of the bowl game or towards the end of the bowl season. It's now more about relationships. So you're talking about a guy like Willie Martinez. He's now talking to guys about like what that relationship is. Hey, I'm going to miss you guys, that sort of deal. That just comes up, and so that motivational changes. It changes a little bit when you start to see a different side of the coach.
Okay, well, we'll rotate that, and we'll roll right into that with the next segment and talk more about how those interim coaches and lame duck situations, guys not knowing whether they're back or not, how that impacts the team and impacts players and stuff like that. When we come back on the Sports Source, and then we're going to get into the quarterback talk. Stick around. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. If you didn't get that special item you were hoping for at Christmas, hey, there's an answer. Get yourself to Games and Things. They got everything from pool tables to home theater seats to dartboards, big, small, Games and Things has it. They can make your home a lot more fun. Mike, you didn't get me anything for Christmas. Head to Games and Things and get me something now.
You got
Games
everything.
and Things, that's right, yeah. OurGameRoom.com if you want to learn more, because life should be fun. All right. Gentlemen, you guys have both been through coaching changes. You hinted at it in the last segment. You've been through interim coaches. You've seen coaches. Right now, you've got guys, and they're trying to re-sign Rodney Garner. We'll see if something works out there on your defensive line. Lavorne Harbin, there's a question mark there. Willie Martinez, question mark there. You got Jim Knowles coming in, he's just kind of observing at this point. Most of these guys like to bring in their own people. You're going to assume that William Inge isn't going anywhere since he's now your interim coach. But still, there's a lot of question marks. You got some of these guys may already have been told, I'm not keeping you. You got lame duck, interim, guys who don't know whether or not I'm going to be here in a month or am I going to be somewhere else. That has to have an impact. You went through it with the end of the Majors era, the start of the Fulmer era. You went through it
every season.
Every season. Yeah.
Kiffin to Dooley to Jones.
Yeah.
Impact on the team when you watch a coach go through what those guys are going through.
Well, I can say from my perspective, when Fulmer stepped into the head coaching job, Majors' last game was against Vanderbilt. Fulmer was the coach for the Hall of Fame Bowl in Tampa Bay, and they started bringing people in. And those coaches, because it was a pretty well-oiled machine, they're just kind of like, hey, just go do your thing. I'm not going to say much. They're observing. But you notice they were observing the people that they're going to have. I was on the door out. I was graduating. I'm out. They're looking at the younger team and seeing what they have and all the different things like that. Cutcliffe was elevated. But it was more of a simple transition. It was not anything like, hey, defensive coordinators out, all sorts of sudden changes. Marlon probably has a lot more stories about that and what he's experienced.
Yeah.
Because for us, it was a little bit more of a simple transition because we did have and we didn't have people opting out all the time as well.
Yeah, you also had the focus level, though. That's what's interesting. I mean, you guys were so good at that point that you would have had things. It's not like the season was over and you didn't have something to play for,
Right.
which was usually your situation. But I just think, there's room for, if not a split on the team. You went through Majors is fired, and
Yeah.
and not everybody's going to be back with him. That's a little different because there would be people who would, hey, we love Fulmer. I'm guessing some of you, not you, are probably sad for the old guy that's getting pushed off a cliff, and other people who are out there. That's got to be. Do players care enough about their coaches? Do you think?
So
in this day and age, when they're all transferring in and out, or is it just I don't care what happens to this guy?
I think it's a good question. I think because of the way of the transfer portal now, I think because of NIL and collective bargaining and the money, everything involved with that, it's a lot different. It's business associated. They're worried about am I going to still get a paycheck
Where's
here?
mine?
Or where am I going to get it? Can I go over here and get a paycheck? Who needs what? So I think from that standpoint, it becomes a lot more less loyal from the fact, and then also, we were preached of, hey, this is your chance to get on tape. This is your chance to show what you got. You're playing a good team. You do that in the Southeastern Conference anyways, but some of these younger kids, this is their chance to emerge as well.
Marlon, your thoughts on this? You touched on it a little bit, but expound on what you were talking about.
From my experience, there's a lot of questions. You have a lot of questions as a player. You have a lot of questions from the coaching staff. When you look at our particular situation, when you're looking at a guy like Willie Martinez that's been there coaching these guys up, and now, the players don't know, the coaching staff don't know who's going to stay, who's being retained, who's leaving. Those questions start to circulate in the room, right? Your defensive backs, I can guarantee you they're starting to have that conversation. Hey, you think he's going? Is he leaving? Is he staying? One of the things I noted, from before, the relationship changes. It's not as intense as it was a couple of weeks ago when you're finishing out the season, when there's questions of whether my defensive back coach, linebacker coach is going to be in the room with this next staff. Those guys start to reflect a little bit more, and now that communication really starts to focus around relationship. Right now, you start to have conversations with a guy like Martinez that you haven't had all season because he's reflecting, you're reflecting. So there's a lot of question marks, and when this happens, a lot of uncertainty. So those practices are not as intense as it could be. And then the other thing is, when that happens, you're leaning on leadership. Well, now you're missing Arian Carter, you're missing Joshua Joseph, you're missing Colton Hood. These are guys that are key pieces to your defense that's no longer in practice with you right now.
It may not be the thing that breaks this game, but it is a distraction. You always hear that.
Doubt.
You don't want distractions. So depending on what level of distraction this is, I don't know what level it's going to fall to, but it is a distraction you don't want to deal with. There's no way if you're an assistant on this team and you don't know you haven't been told you are back. Okay, There's no way you're not sitting there with some part of your mind. I'm sure those guys are busting their butts. They want to do what's right. They want to keep their jobs. They want to look good for the next job if they need it. But there's no way there's not some part, one neuron that's not sitting there going, hey, I wonder if my agent is calling this team. Are they talking to this team yet? I got to get something else out there. So it has to be, at some point, it has to play a role.
And Marlon made a great observation, and you think about, like, if I'm a coach and I'm coming in, I got somebody that is kind of observing me as a coach, right? So before I had a stick, right? And I can just beat you with the stick. Now I got a carrot, right? I'm going to show this coach that, hey, I'm a relationship guy. These guys love me versus, just jumping on you and just, hammering you to make you do something. That may be a little bit of that mentality as well to say, man, he's really good with the players. He connects with them versus, you suck, you do this, go do this right. They're all over you. They change their mindset a little bit because they're trying to show their possible boss that, hey, this guy's really good at connecting with the players and he understands them.
All right, very good, guys. When we come back, I'm going to show you folks 15 portal quarterbacks. And we're going to look at them with a specific statistical mindset because I think that has more to do with whether or not a quarterback's going to be successful with Josh Heupel than total yards or whether he can run or not. We'll get into that, and I'll show you the guys you ought to be looking at name-wise, and there may be names you haven't been looking at. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Al Wilson's Hard Hitting Tea. Have you tried Al's Hard Hitting Tea? It's perfect for an evening wind down, perfect for a sipper while watching a UT ball game, or for a tailgate, or for simply quenching your thirst. A legendary drink from a legendary player. Al Wilson's Hard Hitting Tea. As always, please drink responsibly. And thinking of that, please drink responsibly on New Year's Eve. But what a good drink on New Year's Eve! Al Wilson's Hard Hitting Tea. All right, take a look here at these numbers. Now, granted, they're small. All right. Now, that's a list of 15 quarterbacks I want you to look at, ranked by their accuracy throwing the ball 20 or more yards.
Yes.
Look at you. Josh Heupel's offense runs best when the deep ball is flying. So let's look at quarterbacks by the deep ball. If you don't believe me, let me throw in some more numbers. Let's go to the next graphic. What this does, Joey Aguilar is in orange. Hendon Hooker from 2022 is in yellow. See where they're up there? You don't have that offense at Tennessee's been better with those guys. And then look down there at the bottom, guys who didn't throw that deep ball well.
Yep.
How was your offense under Joe Milton and Nico Iamaleava? So we're going to leave this graphic up for a little bit, but I'm going to walk over to a big board. You're not going to see me on TV, but my guys are seeing me here in the room. Some names in terms of completion percentage who throw that ball really well, beyond 20. Look at Aguilar, 26 of 57 this year, 45% completions, 1,000 yards, 17.8, 13 in his yards per attempt, 13 TDs, 3 interceptions. Hendon Hooker in 2022 was very similar to that. The guy right above them, Byron Brown, USF, played for Alex Golish, played in that similar system. He's going to be going to Auburn
100%.
with Alex Golish. Amari Odom, Kennesaw State, player of the year in that league, small league, did not look good in his bowl game, didn't throw a ton, but oh my, the deep ball. Look at the 55.6% on the deep ball, 20 yards per attempt, 13 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Remember the name, Amari Odom. Mm-hmm. Next on Dylan Raiola of Nebraska. I think he's going to be getting a lot of money, so I don't know you're going there. Caden Hauser, East Carolina. This guy started at Michigan State, 43%. It's close to Hooker and Aguilar. 1,000 yards, 17.6 yards per attempt, right there with Hooker and Aguilar. 7 touchdowns against only 1 interception. Josh Hoover's next. Now, that's a guy people are going to spend on. That's also a guy Tennessee went after before they got Aguilar. Now, he's going to cost, so I don't know if you're going to spend that. And a guy who had more big numbers last night. He was the leading passer in the nation, Drew Mestamaker. I don't know if that's Mestamaker or Mestamacher. But Mestamaker, North Texas, 40% from above in terms of completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception when throwing the deep ball. Then you drop down. Brendan Sorsby, everybody's talking about him. Probably at Texas Tech. Everybody wants Brendan Sorsby out of Cincinnati. DJ Lagway. A new name on the list is Anthony Calandria, who was the player of the year in the Mountain West for Dan Mullen when UNLV. Somebody connected him to Tennessee yesterday. But I would be concerned. 36% completion percentage on the deep ball. 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's much closer to Nico and Joe than he is to Joey and to Hendon. This is just my take. Perhaps I'm crazy. Gentlemen, chime in. And we'll come back to us.
I'm not trying to be that guy on your show right now. I think it's the best graphic you put up. And here's the reason why.
What about all the other graphics?
And I'm going to go back to one of the first graphics you showed us when Joey Aguilar was being brought in and we were doing the whole 107 days. Will he be ready for the Syracuse game? We looked at his App State numbers going, the deep ball's king, and clearly those numbers have proven that the proof was in the pudding. I think there are 2 names that you already highlighted, and I think they're as good as gone, and we know where they're going. Byron Brown's going to be following Golish to Auburn. I have a feeling that Brendan Sorsby already knows where his location is going to be.
His girlfriend's in Lubbock already? Is that where you're thinking?
I'm thinking Fort Worth. I'm thinking TCU.
Oh,
I think they might swap out Hoover for Sorsby. That's just me, though. It's going to be a state of Texas.
Tech has a ton of cash.
Yes, they do.
His girlfriend.
You brought up a point that I want to go with. We already talked about quarterbacks at Tennessee perhaps allegedly flirted with before they landed on Aguilar. Altmyer they'll face on Tuesday. Josh Hoover, formerly at TCU. I think that those dots might connect again. I think that's a name you need to keep an eye on between now and things opening January 2nd.
Well, it's great information for kind of an evaluation for what fits your needs, your system. I mean, why would you get into a bidding war with a quarterback that may not be ideally suited the same way as somebody from Kennesaw State or East Carolina? So, I mean, yeah, I would definitely
But I
look
think
at
it's
that.
important that, John, you bring it up because allocation.
Yes,
There have been times
yes.
Tennessee's gotten crazy on where they're throwing their cash. Where's the smart investment at positions?
Right.
If you're going to pay money to McIntyre, Brandon, and Hoover, which is going to cost you a lot, or McIntyre, Brandon, and Amari Odom
Yeah.
would be a little bit more in the
good point.
in the cash realm, or well, let me go ahead and put up a list before we get to you, Bob. Let me go ahead and put up my next list. And look, one of these guys is not going to be less expensive. This is actually lesser known deep ball style passers, but three guys I would pay attention to. And look, a recruiting guy may come out and say, oh no, on his recruitment at Tennessee, he punched out a coach. And I don't know that because I don't follow recruiting. I hate it. But Amari Odom, Caden Hauser, East Carolina, and Drew Mestimer, again, 4,100 yards passing. He's not going to be cheap. So he's not less expensive. He's just not a name like, Sorsby.
Right.
Becht, who's going to follow Matt Campbell to Penn State more than likely. Hoover. I think these guys would cost a little bit less than those, but Hauser and Odom would be especially less than Mestemaker. And I also think, Bob, you could bring those guys in without losing people. I think you may be able to say, Amari Odom, you're going to come in and compete with these two, and tell those two, the young guys, hey, you're getting to compete with him. And we all know it's going to be like Aguilar. The veteran's going to get it, but you don't have to pay him through the roof or pay him through the nose.
And I think that's important. I think if right now, if I'm George McIntyre, and they bring in the guy that you say, okay, he is our starter, then if I'm McIntyre, okay, I'm going somewhere else. I mean, because now I set another year, and then after I've set another year, I've got the number one recruit in the country sitting here waiting to play too.
Yeah.
So I think you would be better off for a lot of reasons if the guy that you bring in is more of a we're competing for this job and not I'm handing him the job and you can go take a seat again for another year.
Exactly. This needs to be carbon copy on how the Aguilar situation played out based on the details of price tag and lead up to competition. Not so much you lost the 7 to 9 weeks before the spring practice and how it played out with Nico going to Pasadena.
And Chuck, the thing that's going to be interesting about that is the Aguilar situation worked out in your favor because he had just lost his gig at UCLA.
Yeah.
If that hadn't happened, he's not coming here to compete. He's going to find some other place to start. So there's your question.
Right.
How many opportunities is Odom or Hauser or somebody else on that list that's not one of those, not Sorsby, not Hoover, not an A-lister, but one of those guys who's done it at a lower level, is one of those guys going to have a school and say, hey, man, I can start here or I could compete with you? No, I'm not coming unless I'm the starter. I fear that's what you're going to run into with any of these guys.
Yeah, but and you got to be careful of that because if they're not, I understand what you're saying, but if they're not willing to compete, I don't know for sure if that's the guy you
All
want.
right, but you know.
Yeah,
what I'm
I
saying.
know what you're saying. And that's the way it's going to be. I want to feel like I'm going to be the starter.
Yeah, NFL
and I
guys
want
move
some.
around
Yeah,
constantly.
so
They
yeah.
don't go to compete; they go to start.
But it's obvious from looking at all of this and that information that you need to find kind of that diamond in the rough guy that you don't have to pay the big bucks to bring in here, and he's going to fit your system.
Exactly.
And that's what you're looking for at the end of the day.
And, John brought it up about 30 minutes ago. Hey, this is just an exhibition game, and I know there's a viewer out there who's thinking this. If Tennessee was to lose against Illinois on Tuesday, the way that the regular season ended, how the 2026 year is building up with one of the most difficult schedules ever put on paper, there's somebody out there screaming, but Faison Brandon can start as a true freshman. This is going to be a pivotal year. Tennessee has to have the right quarterback that has that 7 to 9 extra week buffer, unlike what we just ran into. I think this is going to be one of the most important quarterback bridges conversations we've had probably in the last decade plus in Knoxville.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Aguilar, when you look at Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss, we've seen that guys can move up from a lower level and perform. There's no guarantees, of course, but if it's me, I'm looking at some of those guys who hit that deep ball, who might, nobody's going around, we're going to get Sorsby, or we're going to get, I'm guessing the search engines in Knoxville haven't been peppering Amari Odom. But that may be the kind of quarterback, or Caden Hauser, that would fit better than some of these other guys because they are super accurate with the long ball. All right, when we come back, I want to continue talking about this because there's been a new update on the Joey Aguilar situation. It's hard to imagine Tennessee's going to sit still and wait for Aguilar's situation to play out. But there is a tweak there. So let's discuss that next. Come on back. And we still got game predictions and the Cavalaris line for Tennessee, Illinois. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. Everyone's doing more and more with home automation these days, and you know what company has been ahead of the curve by more than a decade on that? Safety Systems. They can put the control of your home security, climate, entertainment, all in the palm of your hand with your smartphone or your tablet. Do it all the easy way. Safety Systems. Give VFL J.J. Surlis and his team a call this week. Okay, we discussed deep ball quarterbacks, which is where I would be focusing, but Joey Aguilar and 20-some other odd players, well, not 20-some odd other players, that's the better way of saying it, not odd players. They put their names to the Diego Pavia lawsuit saying JUCO years should not count against NCAA eligibility at all. I think that's crazy, but okay, that's what they're trying to do. And they've also asked that this ruling be made in January before the portal closes. That's key. Because a lot of these guys, you know, they'd like to know what's happening before the portal closes. I just have a hard time picturing Tennessee sitting around waiting for a ruling. They're going to be moving on to make their decisions, I would assume. But I'm going to give all of you your say here. I put up the 20-yard guys. You may have numbers guys that you're, big dollar guys that you want. You may have guys you've seen, you've researched, whatever. What would you want? If you're in control, what are you doing, Tyler Ivins?
Bringing Joey Aguilar back.
So you're going to wait and hope that the ruling comes down?
And look, I think any lawyer, anybody who's got a law degree watching this show is going to tell you the same thing. And I
You
think
mean like Marcos Garza?
That's right, so I was going to go with this. If only Marcos had known a little something about people wanting an extra year of eligibility here locally, he would probably tell you the time that we work with and the court system's time frames are night and day. I think it's a huge risk. But I think that you try to see if you can get another year with a guy who's familiar with your system. That's not going to cost you a lot of dollars. You can allocate that elsewhere. And that you do have a quarterback. And George McIntyre and potentially Faison Brandon. Go find somebody else that you could potentially and have to sacrifice. But to me, I think you have to kind of ride the lightning and see if you can get 6 back for next season.
All right.
No, let him go because it's too much of a risk. And here's the thing. You brought him in knowing you probably got 1 year for him.
Yes.
Right? And so Heupel has done a fantastic job. You look at the ones that were at the top of your list. Those guys, Nico, not so much. He was brought through the system. He has done a phenomenal job bringing people in from the transfer portal, getting them executing on their system and doing well, minus Joe Milton. But at the end of the day, when you look at that, I would go find somebody else, not one of your high-dollar profile quarterbacks. I'd go find your Kennesaw State. I'd go find Incarnate Word like we were talking about, if there's somebody in such thing. But at the end of the day, I go find somebody else and let him go.
Bob Hodge, you were in between segments. You were bringing up some kid you looked up at Incarnate Word.
Oh, E.J. Colson, Incarnate Word. And there's guys that have been connected to Tennessee from Harvard, from Mercer. I mean, it is literally, if you're a college quarterback, Tennessee and you are being mentioned in the conversation. I would like to go Tyler's route and get Joey Aguilar to come back. But I agree with Mike. I don't think you can sit still and let, this is a list of 20 guys. You can't let these 20 guys go.
Fair.
Because now you're on the next list of 20 guys, and Incarnate Word sounds like a big school. So I think you need to find somebody who your deep ball stat is great, combine that with a medium money stat, and put those two things together, and that's where you find your quarterback.
Marlon Walls, what are you doing?
All right, what I'm doing is I'm letting Joey go for sure. I think for me, I feel like he's got a ceiling. I think he's hit that ceiling. The interceptions are going to pile up. I think that's who he is. He did a great job this past season, but I think we got all we could get out of him. What I would do is I want to go get somebody on a cheaper dog, somebody that's budget friendly, but going to push these two guys, my two young guys. And just me personally, I'm hoping one of these young guys are good enough to beat this guy out. But this is a guy that you bring in. It's not a guarantee you're going to start for us, so it doesn't hurt the rest of the quarterback filling the room. And the reason I'm so worried about that is because if you do that and now you lose one of these two guys the next year, you've basically spent money for no reason.
Yeah.
And I think you've got enough holes on defense where it's like, all right, let's go find some Jimmies and Joes, the guys that's going to help us defensively so we can balance out a little bit more as a team. Then to go spend a ton of money on a guy at the quarterback position where there's a lot of question marks, and now I run off my young guys, and so I've spent money and that money.
You were spending money on Merklinger.
Yeah, very good.
What'd you get?
Right. We got to get breaks. What we got to get? Sorry, boys.
Save the clock, yeah.
We got to do the Cavalaris line. and he's going to have to be quick, so we got to have time to make our picks for Tennessee, Illinois, in the Music City Bowl. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. Tyler Ivan, Mike Stoll, Bob Hodge, Marlon Walls, and Chuck Cavalaris. It's like Thanksgiving, and he's sitting at the kiddies table, and he's got 4
with a bunch of
drinks.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Start drinking.
Al Wilson's hard-hitting ice
Hey,
tea.
I'm one shy. What happened here?
I think we know what happened. Okay, Chuck.
Yes, sir.
It is time for you to give us your Cavalaris line for Tennessee, Illinois, in the Music City Bowl.
All righty, John. I think you could make a case when you look at this game, the wrong team is favored. And if you go back
Tell people at home what the line is right now.
Okay.
The official.
The line now is Tennessee favored by 2.5 points. It opened at 8.5, dropped to 6.5 pretty quick. So looking at that, but still what I've seen, about 2/3 of the money is coming in on Tennessee. I look at this game, John, I think if Illinois wins, they're going to be plus in turnovers. They've had a season where that's been the case. Tennessee wins, they're going to have at least 150 to 175 rushing yards. Have we talked enough about the kicking game? Can Tennessee make a play there to swing it one way or the other? I'm going to trust Vegas is right on this one. I'm going to leave it right where it is. Vols minus 2.5.
Why am I paying you? Okay.
Well, I'm trying to split the panel.
No, I'm kidding. We're kidding. 2.5.
So you're making it Tennessee plus 2.5.
Plus,
No, he's keeping it. He
I'm
said he's
keeping
Oh, I'm
it.
sorry. Okay,
I'm
he wants to
keeping
lay
it
it.
right where
Got it.
Vegas has
Got it.
Yeah, he started by saying he's not sure that they get the right team, but he's
Right.
like, I'm going to come back around.
Okay.
All right, so what are we doing here? Tennessee minus 2.5. I will start with Tyler.
Yeah, I'll take every point. I'll take Illinois because I do believe the wrong team's favored.
Okay, he takes Illinois. Mike Stoll.
Yeah, I can't pick against Tennessee, and since there's no money involved with this, I'm going to be a homer and
Well, that just makes
channel my inner Sterling
there
and
can't
say
be
that
money
this-
involved in this.
well, you know, there's
But here's-
bragging
here's the-
rights.
but
There's
then-
bragging
no, but here's
rights.
the thing. This is what I don't understand. People get mad. You didn't pick the Vols.
Oh,
It's meaningless if you just pick the home team.
Right.
There's no point in it. So do you really think Tennessee's going to beat Illinois?
Yes.
It didn't sound like it.
No,
we did
but yes, no. I'm going out on a limb and saying Tennessee.
I have to keep the thing moving. People think I hate the ball, so I have to keep that trend going.
Yeah. Illinois.
You did
Tennessee.
say that in the break of your breath.
I think Illinois' got the motivation. I think Tennessee's got coaching changes going on. I think their defensive guys are out. I'm going to go Illinois. I'm not going to be surprised if the SEC looks more athletic than the Big Ten. I'm not going to be shocked by that. But I just think everything in this situation is favoring Illinois. We started by talking about who's playing and who's not, and we've kind of you look at the defense. I'm going Illinois. Bob.
I'm going to pick Tennessee to win. And
Homer,
Illinois
always
to
a homer.
cover.
Ooh.
Okay, so
Well,
one,
that's a small
I'm going
window.
with
two or
Illinois.
less.
Yeah, there you
Okay,
go.
but you're taking the Vols to win.
There's going to be a safety and a field goal.
Okay. So Marlon Walls.
All right, I'm gonna go Tennessee minus 2.5.
See, there you go.
And the reason being, I think this offense is gonna be too much for Illinois. I think it'd be a tight ball game, but then we figure out how to get a turnover on defense, and that seals the fate of the Illinois Fighting Illini.
Okay, Chuck, now what would you do with this line if you were forced to bet against the line you stole from the Vegas?
With everything I've seen, I think you take the points in this game. I would take Illinois and the points. And it's just like you said, there's too many markers if you go down the list, especially the Tennessee defense. I think that's what it's going to
Just
come
with
down
three
to.
guys
But see,
out.
here's my
Can I
thing
just say
about
this?
Tennessee
This is how close I think the game is. Just one person's opinion. If Arion Carter's playing in this game, I would have taken Tennessee.
I'm more concerned with Colton Hood being gone.
Right.
We've lived through a freshman corner for the entire year. Now you're going to have one in the bowl game against a veteran quarterback who's motivated to show you this is what you wanted. You wanted me to come to you. Now look at what I got.
See, I would say flip side, Joey Halsley getting an uptick in pay.
He's going to go earn it.
He's got to go earn it. Go earn it.
I'm just going with Tennessee's defense. Really couldn't get any worse.
Hold my Al Hart hidden T right there.
Sal Sinceri, anyone?
Oh, don't
All
say
right.
that name.
Gentlemen, thank you all. Have a safe and happy New Year. We'll see you right back here next Saturday at 11, and we'll see you next Sunday at 11. Right back here. See you.